Hey everyone, welcome back to the Half Day Adventures podcast. My name is Alex, and I am actually not with Christian today. He is at work, and I'm bored, kind of in the mood to record a podcast, so here I am, and figured why not until we can get together and record the next one. It's been quite a few months, I think, since you've last heard from us. In fact, I think our last episode was our cruise that we took back in the end of February. So we must have recorded that podcast and posted it, I would say, at the end of that month or beginning of March. But since then, we've definitely had a few months go by where we've not said too much. If you do follow us on TikTok and on Instagram, we've been much more active there. We've actually posted a few TikToks that have got a lot of likes and a lot of views, which has been super exciting, up in the millions. So thank you if you contributed to that. But that's kind of been where we've been focusing our stuff right now. Otherwise, we've just been doing a lot of work. Not super exciting, but that has been what's been occupying our time, I suppose. If you don't know, I work at Disney and I do kind of have a new position. I'm still in the same area, but just a lot more responsibilities, we'll say. And Christian, of course, works over not at Disney, basically, but he has a very unique job where he's working typically 4 days on and 4 days off in the week. And every couple months he switches from working 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. and vice versa. So sometimes he's working mornings and sometimes he's working overnights, which then can make it hard because I don't get to see him a ton, especially if our days off don't line up. So if you are close to me and you've asked, what are Christian's days off, or do you guys have days off together? Sometimes yes, a lot of the time no. So on the days that we do have off together, I am always itching to go and do something like a theme park or just something to get me out of the house. I'm someone that wants to, go because I feel like I need to do something with my days off versus Christian on his days off. He wants to sleep and relax, which is understandable, but then I feel like we don't get to do fun things. So we're kind of at a spot right now where, and I get it, like I really do understand he is tired. He works a lot of crazy shifts, but I just feel like time is going by so quick and the days that I do have off are precious. And I'm really trying to figure out a healthy way to manage work-life balance. So with that being said, here I am recording this little podcast. I think for the last couple weeks, I haven't had days off with Christian, and I have just been anxious, almost manic of just like finding things to do. If you follow us on TikTok and on Instagram, you may have noticed that I've been out doing things on my own, which is kind of new for me. I don't typically like to go to theme parks alone. I just feel kind of like awkward there. I don't know. I joke because our half-day adventures are really turning into quarter-day adventures because one, it's half of our little duo, but also it's just me being in the park for like a very short amount of time until I'm like, I need to get out of here and just go home. But some of the things that I've done have been going to Universal Studios, of course, Islands of Adventure, I think I went to. Have I done a Disney park alone? I'm pretty sure I have. I've definitely gone to like Disney Springs. I did Typhoon Lagoon Water Park just recently. So I've been kind of all over the place. And if I'm not there, I'm out shopping or doing something else. But I just don't love staying in the house lately. I don't know. I feel like I need to be doing something. But when I'm going out, I am taking you guys along and posting some fun Instagram stories. So if you aren't following me, please make sure that you are at Half Day Adventures on Instagram. And I've also put together some fun little day in the life TikToks of my little adventures too. Some have voiceover, some do not, but I would really appreciate it if you check them out because it does give me support and it makes me happy when people are actually noticing the things that I am filming and putting work into. And I haven't tried the podcast yet because truthfully, I really don't know how to edit these. So I'm hoping that this kind of goes very well as like a full run through. But Christian is the one that does a lot of the work, if not all the work, on editing the podcast, adding in the music. And he's also the one that's been working on our green screen TikToks. I don't really understand all of that stuff. So he has been doing a lot of work on that. But here I am. Let's see, it's 9:30 at night on Saturday. Typically I work Saturday nights, but I had a little bit of a different schedule this week. So just savoring my last moments of the weekend before I do have to go to work. It is raining out right now, and you may have heard some booming in the background, that was actually the Magic Kingdom fireworks. We don't live too far from Disney. But yeah, here I am. So what's been going on the last few months? I think I mentioned, but we have been doing TikToks, and that's where we've been most active. But other than that, let's see, March. I don't know. I feel like I almost have to go back and see like what I've been doing. I know one of the big things that we didn't get to report on, which I wish that we would have, and we also didn't get to go in person and celebrate it, but that was Animal Kingdom's 25th anniversary. So there's been a lot of milestones in the last couple months, exciting things for the parks. But yeah, Animal Kingdom, 25 years. That's actually where I started working for Disney on the Disney College program in Dinoland, which is kind of going through a moment right now. I think we talked about in our very first podcast at the D23 Expo that Dinoland may see its demise soon. Of course, that place is always going to mean something special to me, but at the same time, there's not much of it existing in the way that I knew it as, and it definitely doesn't exist in the way that it was introduced to Disney's Animal Kingdom. If you don't know about Disney's Animal Kingdom, I really do think it is one of the most interesting Disney parks. It is absolutely the most highly themed Disney park, that's for sure. But I don't know, it's fascinating to me. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are one of two things. One, you are a theme park goer. You're interested in Disney and Universal and just the things that make up those theme parks. Or you're somebody that is just a close friend of mine or Christian's family. You're here supporting us, which obviously thank you. But maybe after listening to these podcasts, you've become a little bit of both. If you haven't watched like the Imagineering story on Disney Plus, or if you haven't been to a Disney park in person, I can get where it's a little hard to understand the interest in these type of things. But I don't know. They're just very cool. I mean, it's definitely not like a Six Flags thing. Like, I could care less. But Disney, it's just the detail and all of the unsaid and unseen things that go into creating these parks that are just an escape for people to go and enjoy themselves out of the real world. I mean, honestly, I think that's really why I do go there. I can finally just, I walk through the gates, I can enjoy myself. I know the people that are at those parks enjoy those things too. And I just don't have to think about the things that are bothering me lately. But I digress. Disney's Animal Kingdom, highly, highly, highly themed. That park opened up back in 1998 on what would be Earth Day. So that's April 22nd, 1998 is when that park opened. And the conception of that park, some of this I knew, some of this I learned, so I'll just give you a little background while we're talking about Animal Kingdom. The conception of this park came around, obviously, when Michael Eisner was the CEO of Disney. You either love him or you hate him. Personally, I quite enjoy him. He was pretty creative. He had lots of really great ideas, and when he was CEO of the company, he brought a lot of these things, either in conception or as we know them, to the parks. Like I said, he was the creative genius kind of that. There was also another side of that he did not handle, which were the financials. But when he had to take on both of those responsibilities, so to speak, I think things started to get a little overwhelming and a little wacky, which I think is obviously where he goes and he risks Disney a lot of money. I don't really think the shareholders loved him at that much, but he had a lot on his plate, and it wasn't really the financials that was his strong suit. So all of that to say, he is the one that kind of brought Disney's Animal Kingdom to life. He wanted an animal park. He wanted to bring something new to the theme park because we hadn't gotten a lot of new stuff at Walt Disney World. And if you go on YouTube, there's a really neat YouTube video by Defunctland, I believe I just watched. But if you just type in like the Disney decade, basically it talks about all of the things that we were supposed to be getting in the 90s, early 80s, and a lot of it didn't come to fruition. We were supposed to get a lot of really neat stuff over at Disneyland, and basically none of it happened. At Disney World, there were some things that were supposed to come. A lot of this was put on pause because of Euro Disney. It was just a really interesting time, but Disney really was trying to bring a ton to the theme parks and quote unquote plus it up or make it better. We don't want to have staleness at Disney. which I think is another really great reason as to why these parks do so well. And that's why I think they retain the fan base that they have. They're always looking to bring new stuff for the fans they have and always create memorable experiences for the ones that are coming for the first time. People ask me all the time, don't you get sick of going to Disney? No. I mean, I don't spend all day in the parks, and no, I don't go on every single ride, but I have my favorites that I go to. They're always bringing new, food and events and offerings that are great for people that are locals that visit time and time again. And they're always bringing new attractions to the parks, like new big things to the parks, right? The Tron roller coaster. I mean, they're always working on something. Disney is definitely a visionary. Anyway, as I ramble on, back to Animal Kingdom, opened in 1998. Michael Eisner was the one that was kind of trying to bring this to life, and the head Imagineer on the project was Joe Rohde. If you aren't familiar with Disney lore, you know him as the Imagineer with the mustache and the big earrings hanging off his ear. Very much looks like someone that wouldn't work at Disney, but he was the lead Imagineer on this project, and Animal Kingdom was his baby. He brought tons of theming into this. He left out, I think, nothing. Animal Kingdom had a story that no other park did. Animal Kingdom brought things to life. They wanted to bring the magic of animals to a theme park. And a lot of people thought, well, won't this just be a zoo? We have Busch Gardens, just down in Tampa. What's going to make people want to come to ours? It's just animals, whatever. And, there's a fun story that goes where the executives were having a meeting and Joe Rohde brings in a tiger to the room, and everyone just is in awe. They're looking at this tiger, they're stunned, shocking, and then the tiger leaves. Everyone is still speechless. They said that's exactly what we're looking to do. You'll see an animal, like, that speaks for itself. We want to bring the animals to this park. We want to bring these experiences. It's so much more than a zoo, and it fully immerses you in it. And you would never really know a lot of the stories of Animal Kingdom unless you went into books or on the internet and really learned about what they were trying to do for this park. When the park first opened, there weren't even signs, maps. They wanted this to be a true journey for you. They wanted you to feel like you were going into the wild and you're discovering things for yourself. You're seeing the plants, you're seeing the architecture, you're seeing the texture and the detail, the things that are building the stories around you. So it's a really special park. And when it first opened, there was supposed to be an area of the park that included mythical creatures. So we know Animal Kingdom has dinosaurs, kind of. We'll think of those as the animals of the past. We have the animals of the present. So, of course, your safari, Sorry, we have an animal in the back, Maisie, scratching and making herself comfortable on the couch. Animals of the present, am I right? But we also had animals from mythology or mystical creatures. And basically, that was supposed to be the land that had a roller coaster themed to dragons and a ride that was themed to unicorns and all of these animals that were either depicted some way in Animal Kingdom's upbringing, theming. I know I've said that word a lot, but even out in the parking lot, I think they actually still have it. But if you know Disney, they theme their parking lot sections and rows to characters or things that will obviously help you remember where you parked. So for example, if you park at Magic Kingdom, you parked in Rapunzel, row 332. So over at Animal Kingdom, one of the parking lots is a unicorn. And I remember always thinking why is it unicorn? Why is it a unicorn? Well, that's because Animal Kingdom, when it was first thought up, it was supposed to have a ride based off of a unicorn. So that parking lot, I believe, is still there, which is kind of a really cool callback to that. But one of the more obvious things that you might notice is literally in the Animal Kingdom logo, there is a dragon. When you walk up to Animal Kingdom, there are the 3 ticket booths, one having an elephant, one having a dinosaur, and one having a dragon. There was also tons of promotional things that were out when the park was opening up and getting ready to open. So McDonald's used to have partnerships with Disney. And if you recall, I think I even had this one. They had Animal Kingdom toys in the Happy Meals. One of the toys was, you guessed it, a dragon. On the Happy Meal boxes, it depicted dragons. There were dragons on the maps. There was all of this stuff about dragons. Guess what? There was never a dragon in the park. And that's because when getting ready to open this land, this park was way over budget. And they needed to decide, what land are we going to open with this theme park? Because we have to open on time. So what are we going to do? We're either going to open up Beastly Kingdom, which looked great. Look up concept art of Beastly Kingdom. It looks like it would have been really, really neat. Or we will open up Dinoland USA. Now, Imagineers, they figured they would open up Dinoland USA because it was going to be significantly more cost effective. Because let's be honest, the big things that were anchoring Dinoland USA were the Boneyard, which was a children's playground. I mean, basically it had an area where you could dig up dinosaur bones and slides, so not super expensive. And the other thing that they were going to do was build an attraction, which I believe had almost already been built. Don't fact check me on that. But the attraction that I'm talking about is Dinosaur. When it first opened, it was called Countdown to Extinction. But Dinosaur is a carbon copy of a ride that already existed in Disneyland, which was the Indiana Jones Adventure. It's the same exact ride, just different theming. So Disney said, we already know this attraction. We already know this product. Why don't we just open it here, basically? So that's what they decided to do. Dinoland USA was going to be significantly less expensive to open than Beastly Kingdom. So in the meantime, they were going to place something else in the park, which was Camp Mini Mickey. And this was only going to be in the park for 2 or 3 years. And then Beastly Kingdom would come and take over that spot. This never happened. Again, obviously, as we know, there was no Beastly Kingdom. Camp Mini Mickey actually stayed around much longer than 2 to 3 years. But eventually, Animal Kingdom, in a way, did get a Beastly Kingdom. Not exactly that, but did get a land dedicated to mythological, mystical, not real creatures. I'm talking about the world of Pandora, of course. So the Avatar area of the park, which I think has done very well. Again, very, very high level immersive experience, really putting you in the middle of that story. I think that was really the beginning of Disney with their next level storytelling. Well, maybe not the beginning, but I mean, definitely an advancement as to what they might have already been doing in other theme parks. But it was debatable that it would fit into Disney's Animal Kingdom, but I think it does really do a good job there. I mean, I still don't necessarily think of Avatar and the Na'vi and those blue people being Disney, but it is there and it does fit very well. It's very cohesive. One of my favorite rides in the Disney theme parks is the Flight of Passage attraction. No question. But beautiful, beautiful area of the park. Beautiful park in general. I love Animal Kingdom. It's shocking that it's already 25 years old. I wish I could have been to Animal Kingdom even sooner than I did on my first trip to Disney. Of course, I always ask for pictures and I want to see videos because it's just so interesting how a park could start out and the things that change and come and go over the years and how it develops into what it is now. I mean, Dinoland is completely different now. I mean, for one, it started with just those 2 attractions. The ride changed its name. It's not called Countdown to Extinction anymore. It's called Dinosaur, obviously themed off of the dinosaur movie that opened up the same year that the attraction basically did. But at the same time, too, there were dinosaur exhibits. Doesn't exist. They used to have McDonald's French fries sold in the land. Again, that sponsorship, that's done. But there is a cool callback in the dinosaur ride. If you know, you know. If not, look it up. The section that did come to Dinoland USA, Chester and Hester's Dinorama, that's where I worked on my college program. Basically demolished. That whole ride is gone, and it's pretty much looks like a parking lot. Granted, that's what it was supposed to look like, but there's just the carnival games there now, which were part of the theming. I actually should do like an entire podcast just on the history and the lore of Dinoland, because it, again, like you would never know the story that was created for this land, and people always wonder, why does Dinoland feel like it does not fit into Animal Kingdom? I mean, it that little section kind of didn't, but they made it make sense. But I mean, the whole area is changing. Expedition Everest, that was new. Cali River Rapids, the whole area of Asia really didn't exist in Animal Kingdom when it opened. So I'm excited to see what happens for that park. It will still always be beautiful. Animals will still always be the most magical things on Earth, and Disney plays off of that very well. But 25 years, can't wait to see more. Speaking of dinosaurs, another birthday was had by a certain number of dinosaurs. Of course, I'm talking about Jurassic Park. This is the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park, which I don't know about you, maybe not all of you, but oh, thunder. Spooky. I always feel like Jurassic Park was like this old movie that I grew up with, and it was out for so long before I was able to like watch it and appreciate it. And we've come so far from the way that they've made movies. It's like a classic, right? So Universal's obviously celebrating the 30th anniversary with the Summer Tribute Store. Again, check out our TikTok if you want to see what that looked like. But I stepped into the Tribute Store, and they have all the merchandise celebrating Jurassic Park. And it's dated, of course, right? So the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park was June 11th, 1993. It was only at that very moment that I realized that I am actually older than Jurassic Park. I have always thought for the longest that Jurassic Park is older than me. Obviously, I knew that they both, me and Jurassic Park, came around in 1993, but I didn't realize that I was actually born before it. And I don't understand why, like, my mom or dad weren't talking about, like, oh, like, Jurassic Park was so cool when you first were born, blah, blah, blah. So, I don't know. I just thought that was really funny. But it is such a beloved movie, and Universal did a really great job of kind of putting together this literal tribute to the movie with this store. Again, they do a really good job at like putting in all these fun little details to the stores, like photo ops. But the first room that you walk into shows a lot of like the pre-production stages of like how this movie was being created. So how they made the models and how they did like stop motion to kind of like get the essence of the movie right. And just other things that went into making this classic movie and everything that it's kind of blossomed into now. Of course, you have the other two Jurassic Park movies, but even more popular are the Jurassic World movies that were the spin-off of the original. So that's kind of what's been going on over at Universal. I don't really know that much else has happened at Disney. There were just announcements of some holiday offerings going on at Disney. The biggest one being there's going to be a new ticketed event at none other than Disney's Hollywood Studios, which will be really interesting because I will probably be having to work a lot of those late night events. I think a lot of them are going to be on Saturday nights, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, I'm talking about Jollywood Studios at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Again, the new announcement that was just put out, I think, a couple days ago. But it's going to be a ticketed event. There's going to be fireworks. There are going to be attractions open, and there's going to be some new offerings. One of the things that they mentioned was there's going to be like a Latin street party, I believe it sounded like. I think on Commissary Lane, which is over near the Sci-Fi Dine-In restaurant. But the most important thing that they announced, and I think the most exciting, is there is going to be a show on Sunset that is hosted by Kermit and Miss Piggy, meaning that Kermit and Miss Piggy, the Muppets themselves, are going to be present, hosting a show live in the flesh, in the felt, if you will, and I need to see them. I need to be there. I will be buying a ticket if I'm not given one from work. Period. I need to see the Muppets. Also, side note, some of you may know, some of you may not know, but I have always been a Muppet fan. Period. I used to play the Muppet games. I used to watch the Muppet Babies. I used to have, no, not used to have, I still do have plenty of Muppet plush. But I think a lot of you probably would think that I'm just a bandwagoner and only started getting excited about the Muppets when I started working at Disney, and that is not true. Not true. I can bring Tara Bennett on the podcast right now to vouch for me, but I think low-key a lot of you are bandwagoners, but whatever. I'll let it slide. Muppets forever. Kermit's my guy. But I'm super, super excited for that. One of the things that I wish I would have been able to do a couple years ago, I guess at this point, was go to the Christmas party at Disneyland, and they had the Muppet Carol bus, and all of the Muppets were on this double-decker bus singing Christmas carols. I literally wish nothing more than I could have seen that in person, but this will, I think, have to do. Muppets are definitely making their comeback. Fight me, at me. But there's also going to be a Nightmare Before Christmas, also type of show, sing along, it sounds like, maybe some characters on stage. They're also going to be doing something cool at the Tower of Terror. It said otherworldly beings. So I don't know. It sounds like it's going to go in between being in the Twilight Zone and then being back in the glitz and glamour of the Hollywood Tower Hotel, but it sounds like a really neat event. I think tickets are going to be $150 to $170, so to speak, which falls pretty in line with a lot of the hard ticket events that Disney offers, such as the Halloween parties and the Christmas parties, and so on. So that'll be really exciting. That was an announcement. Going over to other ticketed events, of course, what I'm waiting for is Halloween Horror Nights. Again, we did a big podcast when Halloween Horror Nights 31 was happening. So we have Halloween Horror Nights 32 coming starting September 1st, going until the end of October. They haven't announced a ton. I feel like Universal has been stretching it out longer and longer, making us wait in anticipation for what houses are going to be at the event. But they did announce already that there is going to be a Chucky house. But just the other day, they announced that there is going to be a house themed after The Last of Us. So if you are interested in that show, or that video game rather, because it looks like the house is actually going to be more based off of the video game versus the show with Pedro Pascal. Either way, I have not played the game or watched the show, but this is giving me reason to watch the show. Christian has been asking for quite some time to watch it, but I don't know. I just don't really get into TV shows. I watch some of the stuff on Disney Plus, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I can't sit down unless I know that I'm going to be interested in the show. Totally sidetrack, but I watched Shiny Happy People on Amazon Prime, The Secrets of the Duggar Family. They're nuts. They're crazy. Also cults, crazy things. So the Duggars being basically in a cult, watch the show because it was eye-opening. But something like that, I just know is going to be interesting. So I will watch hours and hours of it on end and binge the whole thing versus The Last of Us. I don't really know totally what it's about. Zombies, the apocalypse, something like that. I mean, I do enjoy Pedro Pascal, so I watch it for that, but I guess this is going to be my reason now to watch that. So that'll be exciting. I don't really know what other houses are announced just yet. Is there a Universal Monsters house announced? I could totally be lying. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought one. But that is really all I know right now. Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, that opened at Disney back in, I want to say, March. So that's a new restaurant over at Hollywood Studios in Toy Story Land. It's a family style, all you care to enjoy barbecue restaurant. It was pretty good. I'm just scrolling through to see what other things maybe happened in the last couple months. I don't know, guys. It's been a long time since we last spoke, since you last heard my voice on the podcast. I will say that we are really going to try to fire this podcast back up and start making content more regularly, but it's definitely a time consumption, that's for sure. I mean, I think we all look at people that are vloggers and go out into the theme parks and film and just, do whatever on TikTok, but there is a lot that goes into it. You actually have to sit down and put in work. Just like a podcast, this one I'm kind of just running right through it because I don't really totally know how to edit these things very well. If you've listened to our podcast, you know that they are generally about a 45-minute podcast, but that podcast doesn't always start at 45 minutes. That can be an hour and a half of content that we've talked and rambled through, and we have to go in, or Christian has to go in and edit out the number of times I say or get rid of the parts that sound silly. So it is a lot. And same with the TikToks. You try to edit them and get the sound right. I wish it was as simple as it looked, truthfully. But it is a lot of time, and we'll find the time again to create more. But I appreciate you all very much for sticking around on this podcast and sticking around and listening to any of the podcasts that we've put out. I also appreciate you if you are following us on TikTok or on Instagram, because while I don't expect to be some like crazy vlogger that gets invited out to, Disney events and Universal events, this is kind of an outlet for me, and it is an outlet for Christian too. I know that it can feel like work because it is, but it's a hobby. It's definitely something that I have been finding happiness in. And it is something that's allowing me to go out and kind of explore and get things off my mind. And I want to share it with all of you. And I know a lot of you want to see that type of thing. I love seeing vloggers go out. I love learning about the new things that are happening around me and the things that I'm interested in. I love seeing people out and have fun. I love getting inspiration. And I guess that's why a lot of people do like to listen to podcasts as well. I know I'm not the biggest podcast listener, so to speak. There are a couple that I might find out that people have, and I'll listen to them and try to support them. But I think it's just comforting when you're driving or walking or doing whatever, and just having somebody kind of talk to you and hearing about the things that they enjoy to do, basically. So, like I said, Christian and I will get back to work on these podcasts and getting them out more regularly. I know that we were really trying for a while to get them out weekly, and then it turned to monthly, and obviously it all slipped away. But the next podcast episode that we want to record, we've literally had the theme and talked about it for the last few months since we posted the cruise podcast, honestly, and that was going to be our Disney/Universal hot takes. I think it would just be kind of a fun one to debate and talk about some fun things and things that are unpopular opinions, but I don't know, just some fun little rambles. Moving forward, if there's ever anything that you guys want to hear about, or if you ever want to dive into, I think it would be really fun to do some like Disney history podcasts, more in depth, obviously, than my ramble on Animal Kingdom, but those are videos that I love watching. Again, if you haven't watched YouTube videos, such as like the Defunct Land series or Yesterworld, all of those are so neat. But again, it's because I just love Disney history, and I know that's really a niche and specific interest, but I really think that you would all enjoy it if you like listening to our podcast. It would give you a lot of background, even if you're a Disney fan or not. But all that being said, I think I'm going to end this podcast here. It's going to be a little shorty, but stay tuned. We'll get the next one out soon. And again, shoot us an email at hdadpodcast@outlook.com, or give us a little message on our TikTok or our Instagram. Both of those handles are Half Day Adventures. And let us know what you want to hear from us soon, because that's also hard, is thinking of what we're going to talk about, or what I'm going to talk about. So until that time comes around, again, thank you again for supporting and listening to the podcast, and we will talk to y'all next time. Bye-bye.